What if everything you use to control your life is the exact thing that's slowly destroying it? Imagine living in a world where every second is tracked, every breath is measured, and silence is forbidden. A world where people don't live, they keep time. Now imagine this. One day, every clock stops. No warning, no explanation, and suddenly, no one knows who they are anymore, except one man, not because he has more time, but because he finally stopped chasing it. This is the story of a man who tried to control time until he discovered he had never truly lived a single moment. There was a city where silence was illegal. It was called Kronos, a place where time did not flow. It ruled. Every person lived by a precise rhythm. Everything was measured: steps, words, even breath. And to make sure no one ever lost control, every citizen carried 3 watches. One on the wrist, one in the pocket, and one close to the heart. Always synchronized, always perfect, always moving. The ticking was everywhere, constant, endless, so present that no one noticed it anymore. Because in Kronos, people did not live, they kept time. And among them, there was one man who did it better than anyone. Thomas, precise, efficient, admired, a man who never wasted a single second. His days were perfect. Every action scheduled, every movement controlled. Even his breathing followed a rhythm. Inhale, 4 counts. Hold, 2 counts. Exhale, 4 counts. Perfect. And yet, something was not working. Not outside, inside. Because Thomas no longer felt time. He measured it. One evening, as he was walking home, something happened. Small, almost invisible. A delay. Just a few seconds, but enough to break everything. He stopped, checked his watches, all perfect, and yet something felt wrong. The ticking was distant, muted, as if it was leaving him. Without thinking, he stepped off his path, then another step, into a narrow alley covered in fog. No one went there, no purpose, no efficiency, only uncertainty. The further he walked, the quieter it became, until, for the first time in his life, there was nothing. No ticking, no footsteps, no distant hum. Only silence. Thomas froze. His chest tightened. Because in Kronos, silence was not peace. It was danger. He reached for his watches. Still working, still ticking. But the sound was gone. And then, through the fog, he saw it. A small shop, hidden in the shadows, as if it didn't belong there. Dust covered the windows. The wood was old, almost forgotten. And above the door, a faded sign. Thomas stepped closer, slowly, as if approaching something that should not exist. And then he read the words. Here, we repair lost time. He stood still, because for the first time, someone wasn't trying to measure time or control it, but recover it. And without knowing why, Thomas reached for the door. Thomas stepped out of the shop without saying a word. In his hand, he held the stopped clock. 6:30 p.m. No ticking, no urgency, just a moment. He walked slowly as the sound of the city returned around him. Tick, tick, tick. Kronos was still there, perfect, precise, relentless. People moving fast, checking, measuring, just like before. And yet, it wasn't the same. Not anymore. Not for him. Every ticking sound now felt different. Not like order, but like a cage. Thomas stopped in the central square, in front of the great clock tower, the heart of the city, the rhythm of everyone. For years, it had guided him. Now, it felt like a chain. He took a slow breath and spoke. Stop. His voice was not loud, but it was real. A few people turned, then others. Stop, he repeated. Can't you hear what's happening? Silence, then laughter. He's lost it. He's out of sync. Thomas lowered his gaze, his golden watch dead. The others still running, but for the first time, it didn't matter. You're chasing something, he said, that doesn't exist. No one listened. They couldn't. They were too deep inside the ticking. And then it happened. A sound, different, deep. The tower shook. One strike, sharp. Then silence. The ticking stopped, all of it, in a single moment. Watches slowed, one after another, then froze, all of them. No sound, no rhythm, nothing, only emptiness. And then panic. It's not working. My watch. What's happening? People started moving without direction, looking at their wrists, their pockets, their chest, searching, but finding nothing, because without that sound, they no longer knew who they were. They didn't know how to exist. And in the middle of all of it, Thomas was calm. He breathed slowly, without counting, without control, because for the first time, he didn't need it. He tightened his grip on the stopped clock and closed his eyes. He listened to his heart. Real, present, enough. Then he turned and walked back to the alley, to the shop. But when he arrived, it was gone, only an abandoned building, empty, as if it had been there for decades. Thomas froze. No. He stepped inside. Dust, silence, no clocks, no merchant, only a mirror on the counter. He walked closer, slowly, and looked. At first, he saw himself. Then, something changed. His face aged, his eyes deeper, tired, consumed. Thomas stepped back, his breath caught in his chest. And in that moment, he understood. The merchant was not a stranger, not a coincidence. It was him. A version that had already lived everything, that had already lost everything, that had come back to save himself before it was too late. Thomas closed his eyes, his heart beating, not to be measured, but to be lived. When he opened them, the mirror was empty, the shop gone, as if it had never existed, or maybe only when it was needed. Thomas walked back to the square. The city was still in chaos, but he was not. He sat down on a bench, didn't check the time, didn't need to. He listened to the silence, not as danger, but as space, and he whispered, "Don't count the days. Pause. Make the days count." He looked up. The sun was rising, and for the first time, there was no rush, because time is not something that drags you away. It's something you can cultivate, and to do that, you must be present, here, now. Most people believe time is something they need to control, to manage, to optimize, to never waste. So they fill every second with movement, with noise, with urgency, thinking that being busy means being alive. But the truth is, you can measure every second of your life and still miss it completely. Because time is not what your clock shows. It's what you actually feel. The moments you remember, the ones that stay, the ones that matter. Thomas didn't lose time. He lost presence. He was there, but never truly there. Always looking ahead, always chasing the next second, until there was nothing left to feel. And that's the danger. Not that time runs out, but that you never truly live while you still have it. So ask yourself, when was the last time you experienced a moment without rushing it, without measuring it, without thinking about what comes next? Because life doesn't happen in the future. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It only exists here and now. So don't just count your days. Make your days count. Because time is not something you chase. It's something you choose to live.